What is the current thing that future generations will say I can't believe they used to do that? The way we treat cancer, hopefully. This is wishful thinking, but post their entire fucking lives onto the internet. Dialysis. If you know the process, it's gruesome and medieval. Hopefully file your own taxes. It's needlessly complicated. USA edit since this is getting some traction. 1. Many countries do this successfully. 2. Yes, this would be for most people. A small percent of the population would make adjustments. The IRS knows most of your itemized information anyway. 3. I have probably prepared over 1,000 1040s. Mostly rich people with complicated taxes. 4. Yes, you can file yours in 4 minutes. That doesn't mean everyone else can. Overuse of antibiotics. Toilet paper. I can't wait for the 3 shells. Being in places with no cell internet signal. I lived in a small town where there was almost no signal until recently, but I'm seeing fewer and fewer places where that is the case. The first pose sorry don't know what it's called. Like, here's a pic of your grandmother at the Grand Canyon when she was young. Sorry her ass is so prominent in every picture, but that was the style at the time. No, I don't have any other poses of her. For the USA, I'm really hoping they'll be horrified that healthcare was for profit, and many people paid for cancer treatments through popularity contests online. BC. That we used to get most of our energy by burning the planet. Coal, natural gas, gasoline, oil, trees. Whatever. Any of that. We literally poisoned and killed ourselves slowly and knowingly for like 100 years so far. Just like we can look back on the use of lead pipes and paint and asbestos insulation flooring whatever and be rather disgusted. I sincerely hope we do so with oil. In my lifetime would be amazing, and the sooner the better at the rate we're going. Hopefully things like school shootings will become something we only talk about in past tense. We'll look at a graph over time, and this time period is just a weird uptick amidst a big downward trend. I think having multiple monthly services for essentially the same thing. There's people out there that pay for Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, and even some more at the same time. I think in the future we will either go back to having one central service, or have at least learned to one active and cancel the others in the meantime. Pollute the shit out of our oceans. People use that loser website Reddit. I really think a long time from now we'll view how we treat animals pretty distastefully. Elephants bury their dead and can paint, dolphins have language, and some are growing thumbs. They're clearly more sentient than we give them credit for, and we use our lack of understanding of consciousness to justify it. Living without a cure for flu and cold. Untangling cables and cords for our electronic devices. With advancements in wireless technology and charging solutions, they might find it amusing that we once spent so much time wrestling with cords, trying to keep everything plugged in and organized. Birth control in the form that completely shuts down a female's entire reproductive system, even though there is only roughly a 5-day window each month that they can actually get pregnant. Focus on those 5 days and not shutting down the entire system. Birth control as we know it today, like the combination pill, was invented in the 1950s. That's old now. Time for an updated form of birth control. I'm not even a vegetarian, but I think that our grandkids will be horrified by how we got our meat. This assumes that lab-grown meat keeps advancing. NFTs. Driving. Usernames and passwords. The incessant inundation of marketing in our daily lives. Our technology gathers our data to tailor ads to sell us more useless trash. Your TV records you so people in an office somewhere can socially engineer ways to sell you another TV. We see something like 5,000 advertisements a day. They're still trying to put big ads in the night sky. It's far too much, and the future will consider us barbaric for allowing it. Hopefully the way people treat one another, both online or out in the real world. Vaping. Single-use, disposable plastic wrap. Mass shootings. Drive your own car, especially when drunk. Now, this is way in the future, but I can imagine a bunch of laughing drunk college students stumbling into their self-driving car and saying, "OMG, how did they do it back in the old days? I can barely walk straight." The correct answer would be, they died. That's how they did it in the old days, they died. Current urban design in the US. Someday we will realize that we have built cities 100 for cars with no consideration of people. Buying bottled water from another continent. I still think energy drinks are going to end up having some horrid unintended consequence on our bodies. We will find out in a decade or two. Gerrymandering. Letting politicians pick the voters. Seems Suze. Posting the same exact questions on our Ask Reddit every day. Boys with those broccoli hairstyles. Doctors handing out antibiotics and antidepressants like Tic Tacs. Being able to drink water from the tap and easy and clean access to water. We take it for granted in most developed countries and don't treat it with respect. We misuse it and pollute it as if we will never run out. Buy weed from drug dealers instead of in stores. Circumcise babies. Factory farming for sure. Burning fossil fuels, I guess. I think chemo will be looked at the way we look at lobotomies. Minors having access to internet. Vaping. Science. This plastic stuff is really difficult and expensive to recycle, never truly goes away, and likely has horrible long-term effects on the bodies of all organic life on Earth, humans included. People use plastic for everything, all the time, everywhere. Cigarette and anything that has to do with smoke inhaling. TikTok. I hope TikToks. 6 feet apart in line but next to each other while aboard? Chemotherapy. They injected people suffering from cancer with what? Working 5 days a week hopefully. Hopefully it'll be the fact that we work 40 hours per week. I pissed people off the last time I said this, but any sport in which you can win by knocking someone unconscious. Growing a lawn of one type of grass with no other plants, fertilizing and watering it to grow, and then mowing it back down, pulling out flowers which have been arbitrarily called weeds, all to maintain a flat green rectangle with nothing else on it. The indiscriminate use of AI technology. Future kid documenting my whole childhood for everyone to see, including my most intimate and embarrassing moments. Twerking. If you are born poor, oops sorry, guess you live in a shitty zip code, guess you won't be educated, also sorry, but if you get sick you'll just have to die or live in pain, also the fact that 50% of the world's population lives in poverty. Tic-tac. Retire. Pour an explosive liquid into their cars. Keep large animals in areas way smaller than their natural habitats. In America? Certainly it's infant circumcision. Just a super outdated thing that only really Americans doctors say is important to the health of boys. Nobody's gonna look back and go, thank God we cut off pieces of other people's dick without their consent. All they are gonna wonder is why it took so long to stop infant circumcision. My body, my choice. Arrest people for drug addiction. Toilet paper. The 3 seashells are coming. Drive for hours to use tons of unnecessary electricity and gas at an office building. Transplants. Along with anti-rejection drugs etc., at some point we'll find it barbaric that people had to take organs from deceased people, for the living, and then still have to mitigate risk with drugs. Surely we will have a situation soon where we can just grow them perfectly to spec. Social media.